The rain had been falling since before dawn, the kind of rain that makes a small town feel like it is holding its breath, and it followed Maya Reyes up the courthouse steps and through the heavy doors. She had not worn a coat thick enough for it. She never did. 16 years had passed since the night that taught her to walk through weather without feeling it, and some part of her was still 17, still standing barefoot in a storm, watching a boy she loved climb into a driver's seat that was not his. The courtroom smelled of old wood and wet wool. The gallery was nearly full. On the plaintiff's side sat Eli Ellison, 26 years old, wearing his grandfather's grief like a suit that did not fit him, and beside him a lawyer from the city whose name was Cross and whose smile had cost more than Maya's first car. At the defense table sat Daniel Hargrove. He wore a jacket that belonged to his brother-in-law, still creased from the hanger, and he had not once, in 4 hours, uncrossed his hands. On the folder in front of him, half hidden, lay a photograph. Maya knew it without seeing it fully. Faded, creased down the middle, folded the way a man folds a thing he has carried so long he forgets it is there. The two of them at the Christmas pageant, 17 and 19, her hair full of tinsel, his arm around her shoulder like it was the most natural thing in the world. She had a photograph exactly like it in a box she never opened. She knew every inch of it, down to the way he was laughing at something she had said, down to the way she had been leaning into him without knowing it. She touched the silver locket at her throat, her mother's locket. She had told Daniel she lost it the night of the pageant. He had never once said that he found it. The bailiff's voice cut the room in half. All rise. Judge Calder took the bench, a woman in her 60s with the kind of face that had watched every lie this building could tell. She settled her glasses, opened the file on her desk, and read. Once. Twice. Judges almost never read the same page twice. She looked at Daniel over the tops of her glasses, then back at the paper. Mr. Hargrove, this court has before it a file from 16 years ago. Your signed statement is in here, and I want to be certain you understand what the plaintiff has alleged and what you have chosen not to contest. Daniel said nothing. He had never been good with words in rooms like this. He was good with his hands. He was good with old cars and broken furnaces and a crying child who was not his. The rain pressed against the windows, patient, like it wanted in. Judge Calder read aloud, and her voice was careful, the way a voice is careful when it reads words that matter. I was driving the vehicle. I crossed the center line on Maple Road. The conditions were wet. I accept full responsibility for the injuries to Mr. Ellison. She set the page down. You were 19 years old. Yes, Your Honor. 16 years later, Mr. Ellison has passed. His grandson brings a claim for damages. You do not dispute the accident. You do not dispute liability. You have offered your garage, your house, everything you own in settlement. She closed the file. Am I missing something, Mr. Hargrove, or are you simply not defending yourself? Daniel folded his hands. His knuckles were pale. I'm not, mostly, Your Honor. Maya rose. The chair scraped the floor louder than she meant it to. Your Honor, the defense moves to defer. Sit down, Miss Reyes. The judge did not look at her. Your client appears to have waived nearly every defense available to him, and you have said very little in 3 hours. Is there a reason you are being paid to be silent? Daniel turned then, and Maya saw his eyes for the first time that day. 16 years, and they had not changed. Same steady brown, same careful calm, same apology locked behind them. He shook his head, once, so small the judge could not have seen it. Do not, the sheikh said. Do not you dare. So the morning went. A doctor testified that Mr. Ellison had never fully recovered, that his walk had never been the same, that the years after the accident had aged him all at once. Eli Ellison kept his eyes on the table. Maya knew that boy's silence. She had worn it herself, a long time ago. At the first break, people filed out for bad coffee, and Frank Delgado found her in the hallway. Frank was 64, still broad-shouldered, the man who towed every broken car in the county. He had towed the Buick on Maple Road 16 years and 1 month ago in the rain. Miss Reyes. He said her name like it cost him something. I'm not on the list. Which list, Frank? The witness list. I want to be on it. Maya's mouth went dry. Why? Frank looked past her, down the hall, at nothing. I towed that Buick. I was first on scene. I saw a boy sitting in the driver's seat, calm as you please, hands on the wheel like he was waiting for the light to change. And I saw something else. A girl, running up the hill past my truck, barefoot, no coat, in the rain. She looked back once. Then she was gone. He rubbed the back of his neck. That man has fixed my truck for 16 years and charged me half price every time. I don't know what I saw, but I know a lie when a whole town holds it over a good man's head. Put me on the standard. Maya stood very still. The hallway smelled of wet coats and old linoleum, and she could feel her whole life balanced on the answer. Frank, I can't. Then you're a part of it too. He said it without anger, which made it worse. He walked off toward the vending machines. Maya went into the bathroom and stood with her hands on the sink for a long time, looking at the woman in the mirror, a woman who had built an entire life out of a single word she had never said out loud. Driver. She had gone to law school to understand the system that would have taken her daughter. She had sat through 1,000 hearings. She had never once sat where she sat now, across from the truth. When she came out, Daniel was waiting by the water fountain with a paper cup of water he was not drinking. You look like you swallowed a rock. Frank Delgado saw you that night. He is offering to testify. Daniel did not blink. He's a good manual. He is. And he's right, Daniel. Right about what? Daniel's voice was quiet, gentle, which was the worst way he could have said it. About a girl running in the rain? Plenty of girls ran in the rain, Maya. This town has had its share of storms. He would sit in that chair and tell the truth, and you would. I would say I was driving. I would say it before God and the judge and every person in this county. And I will say it the same way on the day I die. Because the man who wrote that statement 16 years ago meant every word of it. And I have had 16 years to mean it more. He set the cup down. Go home tonight. Eat something. There's leftover lasagna in my fridge, and I'm not going to be there to eat it. Daniel, go home, Maya. That's an order from your client. She did not go home. That was the thing. For 16 years, she had gone home, every night, to the house with the creaking porch and Lily's muddy shoes by the door. She had gone home so many times, she had started to believe the lie herself, that it was a kindness, that it was simply how the world had to be. She stood in the rain on the courthouse steps until Eli Ellison came out, and she watched him hesitate in the cold, and she almost said something to him, and she did not, and the moment passed, and she would remember that moment for the rest of her life. Day two came faster than anyone wanted. Cross put Daniel on the stand last, when the light through the windows had gone thin and gray, and he did what city lawyers do, which is to say he took a good man apart with his bare hands, slowly, politely, while the rain kept falling outside. Mr. Hargrove, in your statement, you say you crossed the center line. Yes, sir. Was the vehicle yours? No, sir. It was her mother's. Daniel corrected himself without a flicker. Mrs. Reyes's. For the record, why were you driving Mrs. Reyes's car on the night of the pageant? A pause. Just one. She asked me to run an errand. It was raining. I borrowed the car. You didn't have your own vehicle, Mr. Hargrove. You, who owns a garage? Daniel looked at him, and a small, tired smile crossed his face. I do now. 16 years ago, I was a kid with a toolbox and a truck that wouldn't run. I've told this story 100 times, Mr. Cross. I was the one driving. And yet, Cross said, coming around the table, there's a tow driver in this county who has apparently told his pastor, his doctor, and half the diner that he saw a girl running from that scene. He's sitting in the gallery right now, isn't he, Mr. Hargrove? Chewing mints and trying to pretend he's not here. The room shifted. Frank Delgado's ears went red. I don't know anything about that, Daniel said. No, you know nothing about anything, do you? You know nothing about why your own counsel has been quiet as a church mouse for 2 days. So let's talk about deeds. Cross slid a paper across the rail. 15 years ago, you placed the deed to your garage, the building, the land, the tools, in the name of a 6-month-old child. One Lily Reyes, a child of no relation to you. Is Lily Reyes your daughter, Mr. Hargrove? I don't have a daughter, Daniel said. Is Lily Reyes your daughter? It's a simple question. The court has been very patient. Daniel was quiet a long time. The rain filled the room. Maya watched his hands, those hands that had rebuilt half the machines in this county, folded white on the rail. And she knew he was thinking of the same night she was thinking of, because that was what 16 years of knowing a person gave you, a map of their silences. She's my family, Daniel said. That's not what I asked. She's my family. That's the only answer I have. Judge Calder leaned forward. Mr. Hargrove, the court has asked you a direct question, and I will ask it myself. Is Lily Reyes your daughter? Daniel closed his eyes, and when he opened them, he looked at the judge, and his voice barely carried. No, Your Honor, she is not my daughter. The murmur went through the gallery like wind through dry grass, and from the very back of the courtroom, over the sound of it, came a voice so small and so clear that the whole room went quiet at once. Dad? Every head turned. Lily stood at the back doors in her choir robe, holding her binder, her hair wet, because she had walked here from school in the rain. Maya would remember that wrong detail for the rest of her life, the way her daughter had walked through a storm to hear a man say she was not his. Mom, Lily said, and her chin wobbled, and she looked from Maya to Daniel and back. I'm not supposed to be here. We're singing tomorrow night. You promised you'd come. She was not talking to Maya. She was talking to Daniel. You promised you'd sit in the back row like you always do. And then I found the papers in the lockbox, and everyone in the group chat is saying you hit somebody. And I don't care if you did, but you didn't, did you? You didn't. You didn't, Dad. She said it again, softer, because she knew. She had known her whole life, the way children know things that are never said aloud. You didn't. Judge Calder looked at Daniel, and then at the girl in the choir robe, and then at Maya. Miss Reyes, she said, very quietly, I think we need a recess. The courtroom emptied slowly, the way rooms empty around a secret. In the hallway, Lily sat on the bench by the water fountain, her binder clutched against her chest. Daniel stood at the far end of the hall, by the window, watching the rain. Maya stood between them, and the whole of her life was in that hallway. Lily's binder slipped, and the contents spilled, and among the homework and the choir sheets, the photograph fluttered to the floor. The faded pageant photograph, creased down the middle. Daniel reached for it at the same moment Lily did, and their hands met over it. And Lily looked at the two teenagers in the picture for a long moment. This is you and Mom, she said. Yeah, you were in love with her even then, weren't you? Daniel's silence was an answer. Lily looked at her mother, and her voice was very quiet. She didn't know, did she? She still doesn't know. Maya knelt. Lily, I need you to tell me what you read. Lily didn't look up. The deed, in the lockbox in the garage. I was looking for the Christmas lights, and I found it, and it says the garage is mine. He gave me the garage. When I was a baby, he gave me the garage, and I never knew. Why would he give me the garage? Because he loves you. I know he loves you. Lily said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world, and Maya felt the words land somewhere soft and ruined in her chest. I've always known he loves you. He taught me to play piano with 2 fingers because he only knows 2 fingers. He taught me to ride my bike at Sullivan Park and let me think I did it myself. He comes to every single thing, every recital, every game, and he sits in the back row like he's worried someone will accuse him of enjoying himself. She finally looked up, and her eyes were red. Why would he give me the garage, Mom? Who does that? A man who has no other way of saying it, Maya said. The drawing came out of the binder, folded in a plastic sleeve, the paper soft as cloth. Maya recognized it before she saw the crayon. A family. 3 figures, badly drawn, the way 6-year-olds draw. The tall one holding a wrench, and underneath, in wobbly letters, the words that had lived on the Reyes family fridge until the day Maya had quietly moved them to a drawer, unable to look at them anymore. The best dad in the whole world. You kept this, Maya said. You put it in the drawer like it was garbage. Lily said. You didn't even want it on the fridge. It hurt me to look at it, baby. Why? Lily's voice broke. Because I drew him bigger than you? Because I wrote what I felt? I was 6, Mom. I knew what I was saying then, and I know what I'm saying now. He's not my uncle. He's never been my uncle. He's my dad. He's been my dad my whole life. And you let me call him uncle because it was easier. And I never knew why. And I still don't know why. So tell me. Tell me why he gave me the garage. Tell me why he said I wasn't his daughter like it was a wound. Daniel's voice came from the window, low and rough, cutting through. Because you're not mine, Lily. And that's the one thing in my whole life I couldn't fix. The hallway went quiet. Lily looked at him. I don't care whose blood I have. I don't care. I want to know why you're in that room, Dad. I want to know why that man is using words like liability. And I want to know why Mom looks like she hasn't slept in a month. Daniel crossed the hall. He stood in front of her for a moment, and then he did something Maya had never seen him do in 16 years. He got down on one knee in front of Lily, took her binder gently out of her hands, and set it aside. Because 16 years ago, he said, I made a promise to a girl in the rain, and I have kept it every single day since. And I'm going to keep it today, and tomorrow, and on the day I die. That's all you need to know. That's all you've ever needed to know. That's not all I need to know, Lily whispered. I need to know if you're going to be okay. I need to know if they're going to take your house and your garage and my garage. And I need to know why Mom is crying in the bathroom and lying for you. Because I heard her last night on the phone. I was the one. I was the one. Who was the one, Mom? What were you the one of? The silence was enormous. And into it, Maya, who had been a lawyer for 13 years, who had cross-examined 100 witnesses, who had never once in her life said the word out loud, said it. I was the one driving. Lily stared. The night Mr. Ellison was hurt. 16 years ago. I was 17, and I was pregnant, and I was terrified of my father, and I drove my mother's car too fast in the rain. I hit him. Daniel wasn't even there yet. He came after, and he found me, and he put me out of that car, and he made me walk home, and he told me that if they charged me, they would take my baby. He was right. I knew he was right. So I let him. I let him carry it. I've let him carry it for 16 years, and not one day of it did I ever say thank you, and not one day of it did I ever tell the truth. And I am so sorry. Lily, I am so sorry you had to drag it out of me in a courthouse hallway. Lily's face had gone pale. Her voice came out small. Pregnant. Yes. With me. Yes. Dad knew. He knew about me before I was born. She turned to Daniel, who was still on one knee, looking at her the way he had looked at her through the nursery glass of a county hospital, 20 hours before he had ever held her. You knew. You knew I was coming, and you took the blame anyway. For me. You did it for me. For you and your mother. Daniel said, and Lily, I do it again. I do it 1,000 times. I do it tomorrow. Maya reached into her collar and unclasped the silver locket, her mother's locket, warm from her skin. Daniel, you found this the night of the pageant. Daniel looked at it. A long, still moment passed. I found it in the church parking lot. I was going to give it back to you that night. I was going to tell you a lot of things that night. You kept it for 16 years. I kept it. Maya opened the locket. Behind her mother's photograph, folded so many times it had grown soft as skin, was a piece of paper. She had known it was there since the day, 6 years ago, when Lily dropped the locket in the yard and Daniel caught it before she could pick it up, and his face did something she had never caught before or since. She had never opened it. She had been afraid. She opened it now. Two lines, in two hands, 16 years apart. If you ever need me to do something impossible, I'll already be doing it. And beneath it, in a hand that had worked a lifetime of wrenches, four words: I'd do it again. Lily read over her mother's arm, her tears falling on the paper, and she did not wipe them away. Mom, she whispered, you have to tell them. You have to tell the judge. You have to stop letting him. I know, baby. Dad, Lily said, and she took Daniel's face in her hands, a child comforting a grown man, and she said it the way she had said it when she was 6, in crayon, in wobbly letters, in the whole of her heart. You're my best dad in the whole world, and I'm going to make them see it. I'm going to make the whole town see it. Judge Calder's chambers were small and warm, the kind of room where judges keep the truth. She sat behind her desk with a file open, and she read the line aloud one more time, the line she had read twice on day one. She doesn't deserve this. The baby doesn't deserve this. You wrote that in your statement. Mr. Hargrove, there is no baby in this file. There is no baby in the accident report. I have in my hand a child's drawing with the words, Best Dad, written under a man who, according to the record, has no child, and now a DNA test, which the plaintiff's counsel sought in the belief that the child's assets were hidden. She gestured to the envelope on her desk, unopened. Mr. Hargrove, Miss Reyes, I am going to give you one chance, once, to tell me what the record should say. I am not going to ask any further questions. This is your moment to decide whether this case ends with the truth or with a man's life spent inside a lie. And Maya told her all of it. Her father's voice through the thin bedroom wall, the pink plus sign in her purse, the barefoot run up the quarry road, the years of Daniel's silent Sundays in the back row of a church full of people who thought they knew him. She told it simply, without eloquence, the way people tell the truth when they have been lying too long. And when she finished, the rain had stopped, and Judge Calder closed the file and sat looking at the drawing for a very long time. The court will take the matter under advisement, she said, until after Christmas. Mr. Ellison, I want you to spend Christmas Eve with your grandfather's letters. He was a man who wrote letters, was he not? Eli Ellison blinked. Yes, Your Honor. He wrote to everyone. Good. Go read them. She slid the DNA envelope, unopened, toward Cross, a gesture that said more than any verdict could. Mr. Cross, I suspect you will find that test unnecessary. Mr. Hargrove has never once claimed the child as his own, and yet he built his entire life around her. That is not the behavior of a man hiding assets. That is the behavior of a father. This court will resume on the 26th, Christmas Eve. The snow came down like ash from a white sky, and the bells rang over the town. And the old church where Mr. Ellison had played the organ for 40 years filled with people who had come to sing. Maya sat at the end of a pew. The locket was back around her throat, the note still inside. Lily sang in the choir, her voice clear and a little nervous, the way it always was, and Daniel, in the back row, in the same borrowed jacket, wept without making a sound. Maya watched him. She had watched him for 16 years, and she had never once let herself see what had always been there, in the back row, in the garage, in the way he handed her things as though her heart might break if he was rough with them. After the service, in the cold foyer full of coats and melting snow, Eli Ellison found them. He was holding an envelope, and his face was the face of a man who had been up all night reading. My grandfather kept a letter in his organ bench, he said, and his voice shook. I didn't find it until tonight. He wrote it 13 years ago, addressed to the boy who stayed. Daniel said nothing. His hands were at his sides. Eli read it aloud because he could not bring himself to say it any other way. Dear boy who stayed, you know what I know. You know that a girl drove into me on Maple Road in the rain. And you know I saw her face through the glass. And you know I chose to hold my peace because you chose to hold a flashlight for the surgeon while they worked on my leg. And because a man who stays like that does not deserve to have his life ruined over a mistake that was paid for the moment it happened. Maya felt the floor move under her. I have watched that girl carry something heavier than my hip for 16 years. I saw her once at the market with a child on her hip, and she looked like a woman who had not yet been told she was forgiven. So I'm telling you now, and I'm asking you to tell her, the rain lied for both of you. I forgive you both. I have forgiven you both since the night the boy stayed. And grandson, if you are the one reading this, do not carry my anger. Carry this instead. The foyer was so quiet you could hear the snow. Eli folded the letter and held it out, and Daniel took it with hands that shook. Eli looked at Maya, and his voice cracked. He also wrote a line in the margin about the girl. He wrote, she sang with the choir the winter she was pregnant, and nobody in that church knew God was giving her anything but shame. I knew. Tell her I knew. Maya could not speak. She held the letter against her chest, and the old organist, the man she had hurt, the man who had watched her pregnant in a church pew and forgiven her from a hospital bed, was in the room with them in the ink and the snow and the terrible, beautiful mercy of it. Mr. Ellison, Daniel managed. The suit is gone, Eli said. I dropped it tonight. It's done. He looked at Daniel and then at his grandfather's ring on his own finger. He would have liked you. He liked you so much he lied in his own heart for 16 years to spare you. That's the kind of man he was, and I understand him better tonight than I have my whole life. You don't owe me anything, Mr. Hargrove. You never did. Lily came down the aisle in her choir robe, carrying something wrapped in brown paper. She stopped in front of Daniel, and the church emptied around them slowly, the way water runs off a roof, until there were three of them, and the candles were burning low down the aisle. I have a present for you, Dad. She said the word without flinching. You always said you were keeping something warm for me, so I've been keeping something warm for you. She put the package in his hands, and Daniel unwrapped it with the care of a man opening something he already knows will break him. The drawing, his own drawn face, bigger than the sun, crayon, wobbly letters, best dad in the whole world, framed with glass he had not bought, and a frame she must have saved for months to afford, because she worked Saturdays at the bakery. Lily looked at her shoes. There's a line on the back. Daniel turned the frame. On the back, in Lily's careful handwriting, a line she had written and rewritten until she got it right. Dad, keep being the best one. I've been saying it since I was 6, but I think the whole world should know. From now on, I'm telling people you're my dad. Not uncle, dad. And if anyone asks about my real father, I'm going to say he's the one holding this picture. And he always has been. Daniel lowered the frame. His face was wet, and he did not hide it. And Maya watched him and understood, finally, that she had spent 16 years holding onto a lie out of fear of losing exactly the thing that had been standing in the back row of her life the entire time. She stepped forward and unclasped the locket. You kept it for 16 years. I want you to keep it. He looked at her. Daniel, you once wrote that if I ever needed you to do something impossible, you'd already be doing it. You've been doing the impossible my whole life. The least I can do is give you back the thing you never once asked me to return. Daniel closed his hand around the locket. His fingers brushed hers, and neither of them pulled away, and Lily watched them with the careful, hopeful face of a child who is suddenly seeing her family become something it never had the courage to be. The bells began again from the tower, heavy and gold and full of snow, and Daniel put the locket against his heart for a moment. like an answer to a question he had asked himself 16 years ago in a church parking lot. Then he put his arm around Lily, and the three of them walked out into the falling snow, the frame drawing under his arm, the letter folded into his breast pocket, the locket warm against his chest. And he did not have to take the blame for anything that night. He only had to take his family home.